What's going on, YouTube family, man? You guys already know, dude. It's the boy. Like, someone has to do these comparisons, and if it's not me, then who else is going to do it? Some honestly, someone who's probably better looking than me and all that. You guys already know, but I figured instead of doing another random comparison between some iPhone and another iPhone on iOS 13, I might as well go and do a comparison that could actually help some people. And in this case, we're actually going to be looking at the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 and the OnePlus 7 Pro. Now, I think there's tons of comparisons already online that have already been done about these two specific phones, but it's always interesting to look, a couple months past the, when these phones are released, because it's cool to compare them as soon as they're released, and I do that. I do that as well. But it's also important to look at afterwards, because both of these phones aren't necessarily selling for the same price as they were before. The Note 9 in like a week or two isn't even going to be sold in a lot of stores anymore. The OnePlus 7 Pro is primarily sold online, but you can still pick it up at like Best Buy, I think T-Mobile, and some other stores as well. But we're going to look at both of them, see which one you should pick up. Now, technically speaking, you might think that the OnePlus 7 Pro automatically has more features, this and that, but that really isn't the case full on. I mean, that kind of is here and there, and it looks like it is, but it's not really always as obvious as it might be. Now, the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 came out in August of 2018. The OnePlus 7 Pro came out in May of 2019. So there isn't really like a full year between them, but there almost is. It's about like 10 months or 9 months, whatever that is. And based by looking at them on the front, I mean, you can definitely tell there's quite a bit of difference between them. Looking on the front, the Note 9 has a 6.4-inch Super AMOLED display that is 1440p, and it's almost like a bezel-less design, but not really. You have a bezel on the top and the bottom. But the OnePlus 7 Pro, however, has a 6.67-inch 1440p display, and that is a fluid AMOLED display. And you can obviously tell there is no bezel on it for the most part. There is a little bit on the top and bottom, but you can't really, like, it kind of just blends in with the rest of the phone, so it's not that big of a deal. But the OnePlus 7 Pro does have a pop-up camera on top, which is a really cool feature. I like that a lot. But with the Galaxy Note 9, the camera is built in, so it's really, it's kind of like, is it worth it to have that kind of motorized thing to come up and down every single time you want to use it? If it breaks and you're kind of out of a front camera, you're going to have to keep that popped open or whatever, or manually figure it out. But the chances of it breaking are very low if you're just using it every day. It's apparently certified for like hundreds of thousands of testing up and down. But the Note 9 is just like any other phone. You will always have that front camera there. But the one thing I will definitely tell you is that the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 display, for my eyes, I think looks better. Like the colors, the sharpness, the whatever. I think the Galaxy Note 9 has the advantage there. But the OnePlus 7 Pro does have a super cool feature that the Note 9 does not have. And that's a 90Hz refresh rate screen, which is super, super cool. And a lot of people said this, and you know what? I'm the type of person that, like, I don't really buy into the hype. If people talk about it, usually I'd say the exact opposite, just because, to kind of keep it interesting in the tech community. Because if everyone's agreeing on everything, then it gets boring. But the 90Hz refresh rate of a display is one of those things that are a killer feature. Like, it's an amazing thing. A lot of people say, and even I think I've said it before, it's like once you go 90Hz, you can't go back. Like, honestly, it's not that crazy. But it is super cool, and it's almost like you feel spoiled when you're using it because it's such a cool little thing. With the Galaxy Note 9, you don't have that capability. So I'll definitely say, in terms of sheer looking at the quality of photos and looking at everything on the screen and just the screens in general, the Galaxy Note 9 might have the advantage, but the OnePlus 7 Pro, in my opinion, might have the overall better display and screen technology because of that 90Hz refresh rate. So kind of keep that in mind, play by ear. But that's one thing that I would definitely recommend between both of them. Note 9 screen looks better, but the OnePlus 7 Pro just has the overall better feature, in my opinion. Now, another thing that the Galaxy Note 9 has that the OnePlus 7 Pro does not have is actually waterproofness, or at least IP certification. So the Galaxy Note 9 has IP68 dust and waterproofness, so you can go up to 1.5 meters of water for 30 minutes. The OnePlus 7 Pro does not have any certification, which was a pretty big deal when it was released, because apparently they could have paid a little bit of extra money to do it, and apparently it is a little water resistant, and maybe it's even the same as the Galaxy Note 9s, but they just didn't certify it. They didn't spend the money to do it, so it's kind of a dumb thing. I don't know why they didn't do it. They should have. They could have just priced the phone a little bit higher, or they even could have just eaten the cost. It would have made that phone so much more powerful in a way of like marketing, but I guess it's whatever. Now, a humongous thing to hit on would definitely be the software, okay? Now, I would probably want to start with the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 here. It started off with Android 8.1 Oreo. It does have Android One UI, or Samsung One UI. And that is their new software based on Android Pie. And what I can tell you is, you know what? I think it's a step in the right direction. I think they're kind of moving towards, cleaning out Android. I don't think it's finished at all. I think they really need to focus down and kind of clean out all the bloatware and all the unnecessary things and all the random noises that when you click something, it just generates a random noise. That's one thing about Samsung's software. Even from TouchWiz, I've used almost every single version of software that Samsung has released, and it just seems like it's just so clunky. And Samsung One UI, like I said, is an improvement, but it's still not, as good as it can be. However, with the OnePlus 7 Pro, okay, it has Android Pie, Oxygen OS, that's the software it's on, and I'll tell you it like this, okay, Oxygen OS is my favorite software of Android ever, okay, that's including custom ROMs, that's including stock Android, that's including whatever, and the reason I say that is, okay, first of all, custom ROMs, they have their own capability, they have their own features that they add in, so I'll probably say some custom ROMs are worse than Oxygen OS, but some of them might be better, but the reason I like Oxygen OS is because A, it's stock on OnePlus, so you don't have to go custom ROM it, root it, whatever. But two, it's because it's literally stock Android, but with extra built-in features. And I literally love that. I think stock Android is great. I think stock Android is better than One UI, but Oxygen OS is better than stock Android. And nobody says it. Everyone says stock Android is the best. I'm telling you, Oxygen OS is slept on like crazy. Nobody talks about Oxygen OS. And I love it to death. It's my favorite operating system, mostly because you don't have to root it or custom ROM it, but it's stock and it also has so many features built in within. Because if you remember, CyanogenMod was actually, a built-in functionality of OnePlus 1 and I think OnePlus 2 as well. Probably not OnePlus 2, but back when the OnePlus 1 was released, that was kind of OnePlus's and CyanogenMod's relationship. But now with Oxygen OS, that's kind of like a CyanogenMod rebirth. It just doesn't have root privileges, which is why a lot of people probably don't talk about it. So kind of wrapping it back into software, I don't think one will crazily outlast the other one, but I do think the OnePlus 7 Pro will probably outlast the Galaxy Note 9s in terms of software, but even if it didn't, I still like the 7 Pro's software. Now hitting on the performance, I'll definitely tell you, I'll go and tell you the specs and I'll tell you the performance after. The Note 9 has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 chipset, an octa-core CPU, and depending on the variant you get, if you get the base model, you get 6 gigs of RAM. If you get the top model, you get 8 gigs of RAM. The OnePlus 7 Pro has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset, an octa-core CPU as well. And if you get the base model of that, you also get 6 gigs of RAM, but you also have a top tier model that has 8 or 12 gigs of RAM. So technically speaking, if you get the top tier model of the OnePlus 7 Pro, which costs noticeably a lot more than the base model, you will technically have more RAM on that specific unit than on the Galaxy Note 9 top model. But the one thing you have to keep in mind is that's on the top model. If you're looking at the base models, they have the same amount of RAM, which is pretty interesting because the OnePlus 7 Pro in the used market is still selling for quite a bit of money, but the Galaxy Note 9 has depreciated quite a bit in the last couple months since it's been released, and I'll talk about that in a second. But in terms of the performance, I'll definitely tell you they're both very fast phones, okay? Now I might tell you because of the 90Hz refresh rate on the OnePlus 7 Pro, it kind of gives that illusion that it is a faster phone, that it is faster at opening speeds and all that, and because there is a new Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 in that, it also has an Adreno 640 versus the 630 on the Note 9. I'll probably tell you, yes, the OnePlus 7 Pro is the overall faster device, but let's just kind of break it down here. If the OnePlus 7 Pro was a 10 out of 10 fast, extremely fast device, let's say, the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 is easily like a 9 out of 10, okay? I don't think that is a slow phone at all. If you're not comparing them side by side, you are not going to notice a difference at all between them. I guarantee you, I promise you that. If you don't go in and thinking, oh man, my Note 9 is so slow, it's this and that you're not going to know that if you don't compare them. You know what I mean? Like my iPhone 10, for example, I know the OnePlus 7 Pro is faster. I know the XS Max is faster, but when I'm using my phone, I don't feel like it's a slow phone at all because I don't really think about it. That's the same thing and same mindset you got to have when you look at these phones. What I'll tell you is the OnePlus 7 Pro, very, very, very fast device, and it's probably faster than the Note 9, but the Note 9 is still a pretty fast device in my opinion. But the one thing you have to keep in mind is, in longevity speaking, software-wise, One UI kind of takes up a lot of more system resources than the Oxygen OS. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Over time, maybe your Note 9 might slow down faster than the OnePlus 7 Pro, but that's something we'll have to figure out later. Now, in terms of camera sensors, you might be shocked, okay? The OnePlus 7 Pro has a triple camera setup. You have a 48 megapixel sensor, an 8 megapixel sensor, and a 16 megapixel sensor, where the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 has 2 camera sensors, and they're both 12 megapixels, both have optical image stabilization. You also have 2 cameras on the OnePlus 7 Pro that have optical image stabilization. Both cameras can shoot 4K videos at up to 60 frames per second, 1080p at up to 240 frames per second, and this is what I'll tell you, okay? Both cameras are very good. I like both sensors, but I will probably give the edge to the Samsung Galaxy Note 9. I feel like the colors on the Note 9 pop off a lot more. With the OnePlus 7 Pro, I feel like the colors are a little bit more washed out, but again, this is so petty for me because I don't even look like, I feel like all the cameras are very good. Every single phone that's being released now in 2019 is going to have a very good camera. If you use the OnePlus 7 Pro, you're going to have a good time with it. I don't think you're going to care. And the same thing with the Note 9. Like the Note 9's camera is very good. I think that even the Note 5's camera is still very good for me. So I'm not the best person, like, even though I've done so many camera comparisons on this channel, I think the Galaxy Note 9's camera might be better for my eyes, but there might be some people who think the OnePlus 7 Pro's camera is better. But with the front camera, you have an 8 megapixel sensor on the Note 9 and a 16 megapixel sensor on the OnePlus 7 Pro. And the super cool thing about the 7 Pro is that it is motorized, so you can pop that thing up, you can pop that thing down. And because of that, that is a super, super cool thing that not a lot of cameras do have and not a lot of phones have, to be honest. And because of that, it does give the illusion that it is bezel-less on the front, which it is bezel-less for the most part, no camera hole or anything. So that's a really, really cool thing about the OnePlus 7 Pro. And between the cameras, I'll probably tell you the camera quality is better on the Note 9, but I do like the novelty aspect and the features that the OnePlus 7 Pro's camera bring, the extra sensor, as well as the front camera. That's really cool. Now let's go ahead and end it off with the battery life. What's interesting is that they both have 4,000 milliamp hours, and I will tell you from my specific usage, I do feel like the OnePlus 7 Pro has the better battery life overall, even though it's spec'd heavier, even though it has a better screen or whatever the case is, whatever. If you keep that screen setting at 60 Hz, I think the OnePlus 7 Pro is better. But if you switch that up to 90 Hz, I think the Note 9 is better. But let's say they're both at 60 Hz. I think the battery life is better on the OnePlus 7 Pro, but here's the thing. The OnePlus 7 Pro does not have any wireless charging, which is so petty. I don't know why they would do that. That is literally the weirdest thing ever. However, the Note 9 does have wireless charging, so that is a pretty big deal for a lot of people. So I would probably give the edge to the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 because it does feature wireless charging, and that has a lot to do with the battery and the features and how you would end up using that phone. So in my opinion, I think the Note 9 might win in the battery life department. Now, to kind of sum up this whole entire thing, I'll go ahead and end it off with a couple things. Now, the Note 9 does have a couple cool features, but so does the OnePlus 7 Pro. Now, 3 things I want to hit on. The headphone jack. The Galaxy Note 9 does have the headphone jack. The S Pen, that is a super cool thing. A lot of people, still vibe with the S Pen, and I like it a lot. It's super cool. It's like a stylus. It brings so much more functionality to your device. But also the micro SD card slot, the Galaxy Note 9 does have that ability. You can pop in a micro SD card if you need to. That's a really, really cool thing. But the OnePlus 7 Pro does have a cool little things as well. Like I said, 90 Hz refresh rate, but also it does have the fingerprint sensor below the display where the Note 9's is on the back. So depending on you, I mean, that's kind of up to you really. It'll just determine whether you use that or not. I mean, it's a cool little thing. They both kind of do the same thing though, which is, fine. But it kind of answered the question, should you pick up a Samsung Galaxy Note 9 or should you pick up a OnePlus 7 Pro? What I'll tell you is, for the best bang for your buck, you're probably better off picking up a Samsung Galaxy Note 9. You can probably pick that up for like $300 to $350, less than $400 though. Whereas on the OnePlus 7 Pro, they're still kind of selling for a lot of money, I'm not gonna lie. They haven't really depreciated quite that much, but once the OnePlus 8 Pro or whatever the next one's going to be called, once that comes out, the OnePlus 7 Pro will take a massive hit. I've seen so many OnePlus devices take like crazy hits once the new one comes out. So you can just wait a couple months until the OnePlus 8 Pro comes out, or like I said, whatever it's going to be called. But the Samsung Galaxy Note 9, I think, probably is the better bang for your buck. When I use them, when I'm messing with them, they feel almost the same in the hand. But I do like the way the OnePlus 7 Pro feels. But like I said, for value per dollar, the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 is probably the better device. But I don't think you can go wrong with either of these devices. The OnePlus 7 Pro is the probably more feature-packed device in a way because it has a lot more cool novelty features, but I feel like it's skimped out on a couple of things like IP certification and wireless charging and a couple of things like that, just kind of messes with me wrong. But if you want to pick up a Samsung Galaxy Note 9 or OnePlus 7 Pro, I'll leave them linked down in the description straight from Amazon. I'll find the cheapest ones on there, so if you want to help support the channel and purchase these phones, you can go do that from the links below. But that is pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it'll mean so much if you guys can hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate it if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.